I'll let you introduce first, and then I'll go behind
Thank
you.
you.
Then we'll go. Then we'll go Hebrews and Exile.
We just do it like we normally do.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like we normally do.
absolutely.
Was that a good weekend? We good. We good. All right. All right. All right. This is Moray, Sean Appleton, and I have with me today the esteemed ambassador,
Brother Bickham, Gerald Bickham.
and this is Hebrews in Exile. It is wonderful to be in the presence of this dear brother here in the absence of our Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr.,
He wasn't feeling well.
who's not feeling a little well right now, but that's okay.
Yeah,
You know, the Most
yeah.
High is continuing to give him strength and health. He is
That's what we pray for.
Yeah, he is an octogenarian, and sometimes you need to take a break and rest and whatnot. But he is
Yeah.
feeling a little under the weather. So for those of you that are out there that are listening by way of the stream, continue to keep your moray lifted up
Yes.
in prayer. Pray for
Absolutely.
his health and his well-being. The Most High
Absolutely.
is what do we call it? We call him Yahweh Rapha,
Yeah.
who
He's our healer.
is our healer.
Yes.
So we call upon the Most High. So I just wanted to say that and open it up and let you know
Absolutely.
what was going on, so you guys are well aware. But
That when they see this stranger up here, they'll know why.
Brother B, you
Yes.
have been here with us at FDF for a very long time, and I want to actually start out giving some adoration
Oh, thank you, sir.
to you. I admire and admonish you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are one of the individuals that are here that are a cornerstone here at FTF. Your extensive knowledge of the Hebrew text is beyond measure.
No,
One of the things that I admire about you the most, I'm
Just
gonna
a
say,
little. I just-
he said just a little bit.
a little.
One of the things I admire about you the most is the fact that your unwavering ability to stand on what you know to be right and true and not to waver is can sometimes be daunting to individuals, but it's something when someone sits down and they hear you speak about the things that are germane to the Most High, they'll understand that you have a heart for the Most High's word.
Yes, yes.
You have a heart for the Most High's people.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I think it's the quintessential cornerstone for everybody that's here is that we all appreciate truth. And
Yes,
we
yes.
understand truth in a way that
Yes.
is very organic to us, and we let the Most High speak. And like I said, you're unwavering. You listen. You will crack that text open. This is one of the few people that back there when we're teaching and we're going over this stuff in text, constantly. Double checking, triple checking, cross referencing. This is what. Listen.
Yeah, you can
I'm gonna
see-
have my work cut out for me tonight.
You can see it's falling apart.
Yeah,
I got a.
you got your book there.
Yeah.
Trey, you and Trey, Moray, Beverly,
Yeah.
use that tool to its nth degree.
Well, I use mine, and mine will probably be passed along to my son, but Trey's is going into the Smithsonian.
Yeah, it will. Trey's can stand up on its own and walk down the street. As much as he's gotten use out of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually another book within a book when you open his up.
But I want to tell you, thank you.
Absolutely.
Johan and I were talking about that when I first came here, and I was just, and the reason I brought it up to him because I remember when I was on the opposite side of the street, that my wife and I actually belonged to a congregation in West Oakland,
Okay.
and every first day of the week for 10 years, we drove that 100 and some miles. We were faithful.
Yes.
Faithful. Now, I believe that on the other side of the street, it says is that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways, and maybe that's why. But I don't give my word lightly on anything, and when I give it, I don't take it back. And I'm the same way with when I'm committed to something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the Most High is so wonderful. He's done so much for me and my family.
Yeah.
And so one has to be faithful.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, I forget, I think it was Sister Deb was asking me about witness, and I was telling her that witness in Hebrew is aid, ayin dalet. And the ayin represents the eye, and the dalet represents the door. So a witness is someone that sees the door. So every Shabbat, when you come and you walk through that door, you are a witness for the Most High. You see the door.
Ah.
And we were talking about, I don't understand how people can be fickle with the Most High. People will come when they want.
Yeah.
Some do. Some come when they. Now, I understand that there may be circumstances that will cause people not to be able to make it. But I've never let I don't feel like going
Yeah.
get in my way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Never. Because just as a synopsis, what if the Most High came for you on the Sabbath?
Right. Right.
And you out of pocket and not meeting, and that's a mitzvot that you congregate on the Shabbat.
On the
Now, if you're
Shabbat.
sick, if you worked all night, because we know we're in exile,
Right.
and you got
Or-
off at 7 to 8 in the morning, and you're tired, and you ironed your clothes, and you took a shower, and you just like, if I try to go, I'm just not gonna make it. The Most High knows everyone's heart.
Right. And in some instances, for our specifically for the mitzvot and application, if there is a young lady that cannot observe, I shouldn't say cannot observe it. She's observing the mitzvot, but at the same time, there's things that prevent her from
coming inside the sanctuary.
the sanctuary.
Absolutely.
So there's circumstances that are there that if
You
she's-
may not know.
yeah, exactly.
You may not know.
So
absolutely,
it's one of those things where, I like you, it doesn't matter who's speaking. It's a matter of what does text say and what does truth say at the end of the day. And I piggyback on what you're saying. I mean, I can't sit there and be fickle with the Most High, because if the Most High was fickle with me, then
where would we be?
where exactly?
What was the old song? If it wasn't for the Lord on my side, where would I be?
Now you starting to sound like your Honorable Robert B. Hope Jr. that got a plethora, just a Rolodex of songs.
Where would I be?
Yeah, I remember that song. We used to sing. When I was a
Yes.
musician back in the day. We used to play that song all the time.
So being faithful is of the utmost importance to me, and it shows in your character as a person, as a human, as a man, as a woman. And it'll show in your marriage, it'll show with your commitment to your children, it'll show when in your employment.
Yeah.
So being faithful is so I thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. I just had to say that because for folks that don't know you, that are probably witnessing this for the first time, this is like I said, this is an individual that's a studier. He will, from the testimony of your own family members, I'm just waiting for you to go right now. I'm just opening up the door like you always told me to say, like you always have these open-ended questions that you ask, that you're a person that out of the depths of your spirit, you pontificate about the Most High, because and just like anybody that comes, all of us, it doesn't take much for us to just start outwardly expressing, because that's who we are and that's who we represent.
Right.
And so, again, for people that don't know the esteemed ambassador here, and you should know, let me stop saying that, because you render these prayers on every Shabbat that open and set the stage for the teaching and set the stage for where our hearts need to be pliable for the Most High.
I try to do the best I can.
Yeah, you do. I'm going to ask you an open-ended question.
Okay. That's what I was supposed to have been doing to you.
Let me ask you this. When in your journey right now,
Okay.
for those, what is the biggest challenge that you see for individuals? Because I know we have family members that we deal with, and from time to time and listen, I'm on stage and I'm saying something. I know family members are listening to me, and they got a little bit of an issue sometimes with what we have to say. Talk about how do you personally approach talking to someone about the Most High in our lifestyle?
It's funny because that's few conversations.
Really?
Because people don't want to hear the truth. So you're absolutely right. I brought it up to a lot of my family members and my brothers, my sisters. But you know, one thing I tell you, the Most High is faithful. Because one thing I pray for are my children, that they would get it. And I don't know if you've seen my oldest son. He's come here before, and Johan and I were talking about him earlier. He's an Israelite. He has a little bit different. So he's working out some things in his mind, of course, but he doesn't believe in JC. Neither do any of my stepchildren. I have 2 stepboys. And they are Hebrews also. And they do not believe in the other side of the street. And of course, you know, my youngest, he still comes here, Isaiah. And so I'll discuss it with them. And my oldest boy, of course, he's from a different lady, his mother, and he and I went to lunch a little while back, and he was very frustrated that he was trying to explain it to his mom and she wasn't getting it. And I said, but that's okay. I say, do you get it? And he said, yes. And I say, did I have to explain it to you? And I didn't even have to explain it to him. He kind of got it on his own. And that's how I know that the Most High answer prayers when you're sincere about things, because my children understanding it and getting it was, and I don't know if when I pray, I always thank the Most High for bringing my children home safely. And even though most of them are grown and gone, but I still love them. So I'm thankful that they got it.
Right.
But having this conversation with people, it's easy to have, but it's not easy to get them to turn because everyone doesn't want to know the truth. People are more caught up in tradition of our ancestors.
Stole my thunder.
than they are about the truth that the Most High, because the one thing I love about FTF here is we say, what did Yah say? What did the Most High say? So we stand on those bases on what he said. But then when you try to speak to people about truth, they may grab some of it, but what they don't want to do is they don't want to understand it from a simplest point of view. And the reason I'll say that is because we just left Louisiana seeing my dad. So I was over visiting my sister Beverly. And my nephew was sitting there, Trevon, and Tristan, and he's probably about 13. And so we started talking about the Most High. And he mentioned Geo God. And I said, well, that's not what we should be calling him. And so when I told him, and in Hebrew, the Most High's name, and it was Yahweh, or Yahweh, or Yahweh, but his name is Yah. And I said, and I explained it to him, there's a prophet named Jeremiah, Nehemiah, Obadiah. I say there's the Hebrew word halu means praise. So when you say hallelujah, you're saying praise Yah. And you know what he said? That makes sense. Because he's looking at it from a baby, from a innocent mind. It's not convoluted with Christianity.
Right.
So it's hard to get people to move off of a spot. So that's the hardest thing that I see is people aren't willing to move off of a spot. But that's how I know that the Most High is real, because why am I die-hard Christian and within a couple weeks period of time, it came to me, this is not right. Something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. So I'm at this church one day and this guy is preaching, the truth is going to come out today. The truth is going to come out. And I'm waiting for it because I know that the teachings of Christianity is wrong. The Most High has kind of showed it to me, and I'm starting to study a little bit, just like the Moray speaks about when did a perpetual covenant ever cease? That you're supposed to, he made the world in 6 days. On the seventh, he rested. So that's supposed to be our assembly day. And so as I'm studying, and so I'm listening to this preacher, and he said, the truth is going to come out. And then he went off on a whole other tangent. But I was sitting there primed and ready to be fed some truth. And that when your mind and your heart is open, when truth comes to you, it resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. You made mention of tradition and how individuals across the street are perceiving. I mean, it's almost to the point where it's not even church anymore. It's more of a a situation where we're going to show up on a Sunday morning to hear about a teaching on a life lesson on how to thrive, if you will, in a dating market, or try to thrive, just in a sense of prosperity, or my my emotional state needs to be fortified somehow. It's not a situation where we're coming to understand the antiquity, to understand the Most High upon the power that you serve. And I noticed that too. I went back to my I went to go see my my father, for his birthday, and I went to my mother's church, and I experienced the same thing too. I'm sitting there waiting for, and it happens all the time. We talk about it all the time in here, what we call a springboarding. Well, they'll get there and they'll go to the text. They'll even go to the Hebrew text upon which they set their foundation, and then they'll use a couple buzzwords that come out of that and say something really. And that's the thing about black folk, is that we love people to tickle our ears. If you are slick with it. My wife sent me this YouTube video, and the two individuals were having, it was a podcast, they were conversing, and they were talking, and I said, you know what? These two people are just slick when they talking. I said, all they're doing is taking a text over here, pulling some words out, and doing some wordplay, and then they got the people like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But they haven't said anything at all.
No.
And I think at the end of the day, for me, it was, again, it comes back to the base issue of, I think, why every individual in this house is here, is to say, hey, listen, we value the truth of the Most High. We want it in its pure, organic form. And that's where the fork in the road for people vacillating between the two happens a lot, where you can sit them down and they can read it for themselves and still make a conscious decision to do something diametrically opposed to what they're seeing in front of them, based on a word that you said earlier, which is tradition.
Well, we've had several come in and sit down, and when they heard the truth, it didn't resonate with them. But it's just funny to me, because I really don't get it. And I know that it's the Most High, because I remember I knew that Christianity wasn't right, and I started going to different Beth Yeshua.
Yep.
And then I went to even before them. We tried to go over 65th off of Lemon Hill. There's a 7-day Adventist, because I knew that the Shabbat that we're supposed to be assembling on Saturday. So me and my wife, we kind of church hopped a couple times, but for some reason it just wasn't resonating. And then when I came here, I don't know if you remember, the very first day I came, and I didn't even fill out the visitor's card, because I say, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. So when my wife first came, and she kind of looked around, because Isaiah and I came a couple of times.
Okay.
She looked around and she thought the Hebrew writing was kind of strange, but she continued to come. And then I prayed about it, and then the truth started resonating with her. And if I tell you, she's a faithful witness. I say, baby, you can't be out there force feeding folks.
Just jamming it down their throat, huh?
You gotta take it. You gotta get this. I say, baby, you can't argue with them. I say, because the Most High has to, he has to open up their hearts and open up their minds. And I believe there's a scripture in it said that Abraham believed Yah, and it was the word escapes me, but it was his righteousness. It was put on him as righteous that he believed him. And then when you read in the Hebrew text, it's a hiphael, meaning that it was forcefully. To mean the Most High forced Abraham to believe. He made him believe. So I was telling her, some people, they not going to get it.
Nope.
They're just not going to get it.
Nope.
Some people don't desire to know. They want to live in darkness. They don't want to live in the truth. And I was talking to Johan, I was thinking about our ancestors, about them when they said that the Most High won't do good, neither will he do evil. And you had people back in the land, they they were abusing their brethren. They were loaning them money with interest on it. They were violating the Sabbath, because judgment wasn't expedient. Judgment didn't come down on them right then. So that's why they felt that the Most High had turned his back, and he wasn't looking, and he wasn't seeing anything, and that they could do whatever they wanted to do because there was no judgment behind it. But that's a Christian mentality, because all I got to do is just say, forgive me, and then you somebody died for my sins and you're forgiven. But that's not how the Most High operates.
Yeah.
So you really have to make a conscious effort to want to live for him, because I don't trust my judgment.
Yeah. Agreed.
So he's turned his face from us, and judgment is not expedient right now. And when you pray and you're in the bed at night, and you're in the night hours and the night watches, and you're praying to him, and you're just asking the Most High to make a separation between his people, and because you want to convince our other brethren, Jacob, to come back to the fold. So you want something that's tangible for them to see. But other than what's in this word, we don't have anything tangible.
Right.
Because he say, I bless whom I will, and I'll curse whom I will. He'll send evil on whom he will. And so you have those that are out here that are not living for the Most High, that are still being blessed financially, physically. And that's a deception. Yep. I don't care what it is. We better not turn from the ways of the Most High.
Yeah, absolutely. There are certain things within the text. I'm glad that you had brought that up. That was one of the things that I found that was very poignant about the Most High, that I could see with a lot of clarity, to say that the ways of the Most High make sense versus what I've been used to across the street.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to atonement. I have a greater sense of, okay, I'm accountable for my actions. No one else. I think the text goes ahead and says, hey, listen, you cannot be, the sins of the Son are not borne by the Father, and the Father cannot atone for the sins of the Son. So you are accountable for your own actions at the end of the day. And it mimics what happens in reality in life. If I go outside and I make some egregious act against you or your property or something that you have, I have to make in California,
right.
I have to make an atonement for what I did. I just can't simply say, well, this person, when I appear in front of the magistrate and they say, Mr. Appleton, you committed this egregious act against Gerald here, this is your atonement. Well, no, this other individual, my cousin, is going to serve, is going to be accountable for the things that I did. That doesn't work that way. And the Most High's teachings have us focused on, okay, you did this. You need to make an atonement for it. You need to get right with me. And it's from top down. It's all the way from when we look in Vayikra or in Leviticus and we look at the first 4 chapters, we see this, especially within chapter number 4, where we talk about inadvertent sin. Right. And then we get into chapter number 5, where we actually talks about some premeditated sin, thing around like verse 17. It talks about from the top down. We start with the Kohanim, and we start with Hebrew, and we go to Hebrew Israel. Then we have the leaders, and then we have the individual themselves that have to give. There's an atonement that's set apart. So the more and more I look at text, the more and more I find that life mimics, or I shouldn't say life mimics text, that the things that are germane to text are very true to form to what happens naturally in life, instead of what I like to call this Disneyland way of thinking and acting. Like I don't have. When the Moray was sitting here, he has this, oh man, he called it, I think it's Maxine. He called his car. He had a car that he just really, really enjoyed driving. And I said, you know what? You pay good money for that car. You invested a lot of time in making sure that car was clean, that it was slick. Wherever you went, it was working well.
Right.
And I said, you probably didn't lend that car out to nobody. You probably drove that car. But if you ever did, your expectation is that when you lent that car out, you're just going to get it back exactly the way you gave it. And why is that? Because you had some type of attachment to it because of the fact that you invested so much into it. When you have no investment in anything.
yeah,
You're going to treat it with some type of contempt.
Right.
You know, I go to Enterprise Rent a Car. I'm going to drive that car. It's not mine.
Right.
At the end of the day, I mean, I know I got to take it back, but, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a little bit less careful than I need to be. And I think that's the way that it's appearing across the street as well. When you don't have to have an atonement or an accountability really for anything that you do. If I violate something, oh, Jesus paid it all.
And it's funny you said that, because you triggered something when you said my cousin, somebody else making atonement for your sins. Well, I thought about that. You know that this, even not just this country, but a lot of countries were built on the foundation of the 10 words.
Sure.
Or as people know them as the 10 Commandments. And a lot of our laws are based on scriptural texts, or at least the foundation.
100%.
And there are a lot of people in prison and jail who are innocent, that didn't commit a crime, but there's not one single person in prison voluntarily doing time for someone else that was found guilty. The courts will not let you go to jail for me. So that goes to show you can't atone for my crimes.
The only place that works is on Sunday morning.
But if you across the street,
right,
and if you wearing the cross,
that's right.
How come I can't go to jail for my son? Why I can't atone for him? If you think that JC atoned for you.
Yep. Why can't that happen?
Because he didn't.
That's right. At the end of the day.
And he can't.
That's right. That's right. And that's difficult for people to kind of wrap their heads around, because again, it gets back to that issue of tradition and this is what it is. I asked one of my family members, I said, and I know we're bouncing all around because this is what we do as Hebrews. We got so many things that could pop into our head.
Right.
I was talking to one of my family members and I said, why in the world do you do communion every single month? And I said, where is it in text that says that you shall do it on the 4th week of the month? And I said, they literally looked back at me and said, you know what? It doesn't say that in text nowhere for us to do that.
No.
And it doesn't say that the frequency of it for us to do it. It's just a tradition that we do. And I said, you don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But here's the thing. What I found, I think, works in trying to get our people to try to understand who they are. It's one of the things that the Moray here is pressing upon us as leaders to continue to do, which is to show people the benefit of being Hebraic. My greatest example is my own brother, who I will continue to say who I love dearly. Still Christian, but at the same time, he understands the value of the Most High. And he understands the value of the Most High because of his connection that he has to this issue of fitness. So me and my brother are fitness nuts. So he looks at text from a standpoint to say, Christianity doesn't provide me enough information for me to be complete in my body. The only place that I know that does that is in the Hebrew text.
Right.
Because the Hebrew text from the beginning defines what my diet is. It tells me about my fitness. It tells me what I can and cannot eat. It says that the Most High has created this beautiful entity, which I got to say this now, I'm off and running to the races here.
That's all right.
When the Most High, because I can't get it out of my head. The fact that, and I was laying in my bed and I was thinking about this, I said, the Most High is a power. And that power is boundless. It cannot be contained. I cannot even cognitively imagine the Most High. I just know that he's a power. He's a spirit. And he designed a body that in this realm can house his spirit. That power. And so at the end of the day, I said, that body has been beautifully designed. It has mitzvot that have been assigned to it. Those mitzvot cannot be broken. And the cognitive ones that we know about that says, hey, don't do this to this
Yes.
You're going to lend me your Jag?
Right.
Don't drive my Jag in the dirt.
Right.
Don't drive my Jag over here. Don't do
Right.
this. Don't
Right.
do that.
Right.
That Jag is going to work anyway because it's that car. It has certain things that it's going to turn on when the ignition turns on. Those are the type of things that I'm talking about. That body that I'm living in is going to get old. There's mitzvos, there's things it'll go through. It'll go through puberty. It'll go through different things. Women go through menopause. It's certain things that have been assigned to the body that it just cannot break. But the cognitive things that we're aware of is what those mitzvot talk about at the end of the day. So at least getting back to my point with my brother is that the only point that he cannot, I shouldn't say the only point, where he identifies what brings him closer to the Most High is his affection for what is germane and important to him, which is fitness. And I found that if I can sit back and be quiet, listen to a person and figure out where they are, and try to apply whatever mitzvot or lessons that are within our Hebrew text to say, okay, look at this particular issue with Esther, or look at this particular issue with Boaz, or Melech Shaul, or any of our patriarchs or matriarchs, any of the prophets. Certain things that we learn in there, and try to apply that.
You can open the door a little bit at a time.
Yep.
Little bit at a time.
At a little bit at a time. And that's all it takes. And he's slowly getting there because I challenge him. I say, I do a Brother Beacom on him.
And what is that?
Say, you can't sit there and talk about the things that are germane to the Most High when it comes to your fitness and eating and learning all the mitzvot and Vayikra 11, which is Leviticus, and learn all those dietary laws and all that, and sit there and still go to church on Sunday morning. How in the world are you going to sit there and pick and choose like this is the Golden Corral with the Most High's text? Oh, I want this, and I'll put this on my plate, but I'm not ready for that one yet. That's okay. But just know that the Most High don't operate like that. Like you don't get to pick and choose what you like.
No.
So you have to apply them all to your life. But again, it's the gateway in there. I gotta have to somehow connect with somebody on where they are.
Yeah, and I was just sitting here as you were talking. I think you mentioned about the Moray's car, and if the Most High is the engine, if He's the power, and then feeding it 92, which is what the Most High is, how He's outlined our dietary laws. But if you're gonna keep putting 87 in it, you're gonna keep putting pork and some scrimps and
Yep, all that,
all of that. And you know what? I truly believe that there is a correlation between our diet and the Most High saying that He was going to put the diseases of the nations upon us.
Sure.
Because we are living like the nations.
Absolutely.
So when you're eating pork that's high in fat and cholesterol, you're going to have high cholesterol.
Absolutely.
When shrimp, shellfish is high in cholesterol. So when you're feeding all of this into this system, then I don't think you can get the most out of it with the Most High's spirit being in it. You're not getting a full function.
Right. This is where my family members got upset at me because I made this declaration. And they said, "Ooh, that's cruel." I said, I have a tough time. Now, rebuke me, please. If this is wrong, this is wrong. Just because I know you will.
Okay.
I said, I find it very hard for somebody to be laid up in some hospital somewhere, and I got to be sensitive. I want to make this declaration. I got to be sensitive because I don't know everybody's situation. But this is in generalities. If you laid up somewhere upon your own vices, it's very difficult for somebody to come in here and say, come pray for me, to ask the Most High to remove something that has been placed there because you decided to desecrate the Most High's temple, because you decided that you didn't want to read and have a blind stupor to what's there. I find it very difficult to sit there and be like, Most High, please take these diabetes off this person.
Right.
Please ease their pain. I told my brother the other day, I'm almost like, no, I don't pray that.
I'm similar.
I'm sorry, maybe that's just me.
I am too, Sean. I'm very similar. When there are things that happen, the fires that happened up in Paradise, California, the fires that happened down in the Palisades, and so I sit on the fence, and my wife she'll be like, "Oh, those poor people," and a lot of times I'm like, "Well, the Most High say I do all things." I'll send evil, I'll send good. So sometimes it makes me, I want to feel bad for people that are put out,
Right.
that are maybe going through a difficult time.
Right.
But I want to love what he loves. I
Right.
want to hate what he hates. So if he sent something and he sent a tornado or sent a hurricane and through Louisiana because of how we have desecrated he said the world is mine, the earth is mine and the fullness thereof, and we've desecrated it in the way that we are living and with all the pollution and global warming and everything.
Sure.
So if he sends a tragedy through there, should I feel sorry for it? So a lot of times I find myself indifferent also,
Yeah.
not knowing which way to go on that.
Yeah, it's I keep quiet, but at the same time I have to evaluate it and say, okay, yes, yeah, you are going through the atonement of, and that's the only thing that I can express is that you're taking accountability. Your body is telling you something right now for all this time that you decided to do what you were going to do.
Yes.
Your body is making you and putting you in a state that says, okay, this is what happens when you do this. Now, granted, I know it may sound harsh, and I know people that are listening out there because I don't know everybody's situation, but like I said, I think for both of us in generalities.
Yeah,
if you are openly, for example, you can't sit there and tell me that you've been smoking 4 packs of Newports all day long and then turn around and you call, lung cancer or throat cancer.
And you want us to pray to
You
have
want me
Most
to
High
pray it off
offer
you. No.
Right.
I'm sympathetic.
Yes.
But you are making an atonement for where you are. And I think that's a lot of times with with our people in this exile. I can't be too sympathetic because we've abandoned the ways of the Most High and have such a disdain
Yes.
for teaching to say that, you know what, the Most High is in the way. And I challenge, I don't know if you do, if you can speak to that too. I challenge people on that as well. It's like, how in the world do you sit there and say that you love the Most High like you do, and then when the Most High tells you to do something, you just blatantly do?
Oh my goodness!
Like, okay,
we
well,
were talking about that before you came in, and I think we mentioned earlier in the podcast regarding you know that there's a mandatory assembly on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, and a lot of times, well, at one time we wear our fringes, we wear our tzitzits.
Yep. Yep.
And at first I was wearing them to Shabbat. And as I'm sitting up studying one day, and I'm reading, and I'm talking to the Most High and asking Him to speak with me, and I'm thinking about my tzitzits. And I'm like, wait a minute, He didn't say just on the Sabbath.
True.
You're supposed to wear them every day. As a matter of fact, there's a scripture that says that when He come back, He's going to destroy those who are in strange apparel. Now, I'm not quite fully versed on what that it means, but I do know that He gives us a couple things about our apparel, that we're just like we're not supposed to mix seed. We're not supposed to wear different garments made of. So if I'm wearing cotton, I try to wear all cotton.
So check this out. You're going to come teach that when I get back. Because you know where you are right now. You're right in that vein. We're getting ready to go into a whole bunch of those mitzvahs that talks about when you sow your field, don't mix the two seeds together. When you wearing clothes, you don't mix certain things. So there's the literal sense that there, and then there's another figuratively sense that we teach as well about this whole entire thing of vacillating. That's why I told the More, I said, when we were probably Messianic, and he disagrees with me on this, and that's fine. But I told him, I said, I think we were probably at our lowest when we were Messianic. And I said, the basis of that is because of the fact that we were vacillating between two opinions.
Right.
I said, you got this one issue over here where you're worshiping this idol
Right.
But at the same time, you're supposed to be Hebraic at the same time. You're mixing the two. Either be Yah, and then
Right.
yeah, you know, you do this over here, but don't vacillate between the two.
But praise the Most High, He showed first tabernacle the truth.
Right. No, I agree.
And he was like, hey, let me show it to him and let me get him out of there. But speaking on, but vacillating between things, I distinctly remember going down and getting in my car and getting ready to go somewhere. Now I may be walking around the house, but if ever I leave outside of those doors, I make sure that my seats are on. So I'll sit in the car and I'll be like, well, I'm just running to Rayleigh's. I'm gonna come right back, and go get them.
Let me go grab them.
Go grab them. So what I did is I actually ordered me some clamps.
Okay.
So now I have some that I can just
pop on. Yeah.
Just pop on and pop off.
Good. Has anybody stopped you and asked you what they actually mean? Or what are those?
They do. And
Okay.
you know what I find more than anything are the kids that I coach with out here at Hiram Johnson. They'll ask me what they mean. And then what I'll do is I have a picture of the scripture. I'll say, well, do you really want to know? Yeah. So I'll show it to them. And so this, interesting. So people will think that, you know, your belief is interesting, but it's hard for them to divide the truth.
Right. They there it is again. It's this cognitive dissonance that's there that says there's this roadblock. And I think that we get back to this issues where we go over here and what Hebrews 11 over there across the street sets up. The fact that it's ineffective and it didn't bring anything to its goal. So we got to get rid of it and instantiate something else. That is quintessential for that doctrine to even function. You have to get rid of the mitzvot.
Oh my goodness.
Which is, and interesting, I was doing my study on the next time that I get up and teach. And I have to deal with this issue when I know I asked the congregation out loud. I said, Yeshua has asked this question, what's the greatest mitzvah?
Right.
And a lot of people answer, they say, okay, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. That's actually the second one that he brings up. The first one is, you know, to obey
and love the Most High.
And love the Most High. And then he says the second one is to go ahead and love your neighbor as you love yourself. But there's two different mitzvos that actually talk about that particular issue. And the one that he's talking about is this issue where it's deals with this issue of vengeance. There's a piece that's in front of that. But my point in bringing that up is to say that your own teacher is quoting, and we've pinpointed it several times, observing the mitzvot, and not only says that I can only do the things that the Most High says that I can do.
But if that was the case, why would you say, I know it has been said, but I say? See, in the Christian church, they'll sing this song, who report do you believe? And so, well, whose report do you believe?
Right.
Because when I sing the real report, I'm not a man that it ain't but about 4 or 5 scriptures that should bring you back. Sure. And one of them is, I'm not a man that I should lie or change my mind, or that I should shuv or repent.
Right. I think about Midbar, chapter number 23, somewhere around there.
And
23,
repent
19.
in Hebrew is to shuv, which means to turn. So in other words, turn from what I've already said, or change my mind. So we say change my mind. I think that's appropriate. I'm not a man that I should lie, change my mind, and I shall not take back that which has gone out of my lips. Then he says that the Father shall not die for the Son, neither the Son die for the Father, but every man shall die for his own crimes. So that's what the Most High said. So whose report do you believe?
Right.
Because when we get over to the New Testament, John told you that he so loved the world that he gave his only son. But he said that Israel was his son.
Right. So when we get back into Shemot,
so whose report do you believe?
Right. See, you know what?
You can't believe both.
Right. You can't. You cannot.
You got to believe one or the other. Then if you obviously believe that JC died for your sins, then you don't believe the Most High. You don't believe his report. Quit singing that song. You believe the report of John, Mark, Luke, Matthew, and Paul.
Right. Commentary.
And look, I don't even trust my own judgment. I ain't finna trust nobody else's judgment.
Right. And that's it.
I'm what thus saith Yah.
And we stand on that.
That's all I can stand on. Now we may have a couple of misunderstandings on exactly what
Sure.
hey, let's try to come to some understanding on this, and let's try to get on even ground. But and sometimes we vacillate between two, but we always seeking the truth.
Yeah. You know what? I got up and spoke. And this is the one thing, again, I love this congregation because y'all will call me out on stuff that I say in a heartbeat. And I welcome that. It's not like, oh, okay, I take it offensively. And I think that people that are in congregations need to have an avenue or be comfortable enough to be able to confront their leaders and say, hey, listen, you said X, but that's not what not what the text says, or
That's what I love about First Tab, because you will not be able to go to TD Jakes' church and tell him he was wrong.
Wrong, exactly. And the example I was giving when I got up and taught, I said something about to the effect of how a man cannot be an adulterer. And right afterwards, Morey came up to me and said, not Morey Holman, but Morey Beverly came up to me and said, brother, I don't think you're right at all about that. And I said, okay. And this was the attitude. You have your opinion, I have mine. We're going to sit down and we're going to read this text, and we're going to let the Most High tell us between the two. I'm not coming here to argue against you. I'm coming here to understand what this text says.
Yeah.
And then what we're going to do, and here's the problem that we run into a lot when we're doing this, is because there's been so many translations of the text that words do mean something. And when you look at the book that you're reading versus the CJB versus the scriptures versus what's on Bible Hub versus, there's so many different translations of different things in there. And you look at these words and you're saying, okay, how do we come to some agreement on what we're talking about? But the point here is, at the end of the day, is we're not trying to argue a point from, okay, we can agree to disagree, but we're going to let the Most High choose between the two of us.
Well, we know that 9 out of the 10 things we agree on. So we standing on them 9.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, we're gonna work out that one as we go.
As we go. And that's the beautiful part about it, is that we understand that we're not there.
Right.
We only have, and this is another cathartic thing, that as I'm even going through my studies, I'm saying to myself, wow, I do not have all of the information. I don't have access to everything that I would need in order to be totally complete about everything. So there's a meekness and a humbleness that's there. Anytime that we get up and we talk to somebody, I haven't arrived yet. And that's why I started, when I get up and talk, I said, hopefully our descendants, and this is beautiful, like your sons, my sons, like my testimony about my sons is that they have no idea what Christianity is about. Because even Isaiah.
He don't know nothing about Christmas.
Right. They don't, not even looking for this geriatric old man to come down the chimney and do whatever he's going to do for these Christian holidays and whatnot, because they weren't raised that way.
No.
At all. But it's something to say, again, when we speak about truth, we're speaking about it from a standpoint of trying to understand it from the best standpoint that we know how. Here's, I'm going to share this with you. I've got a bunch of stuff talking to you coming out. How you over here a couple more times? One of the things that actually is a talking point that I use. This is my nail in the coffin.
Oh, good.
This is my nail in the coffin. I use this all the time.
Okay.
And I tell folks, I say, listen, you can have your opinion on what you believe over here in this text. But I'm going to tell you one thing. You can't sit there and tell me that the Most High, upon which you believe in, is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and has never changed, and you have a clear document
That changed.
that changed, I would not put my faith,
Yes.
and I have to go into this little dissertation about faith, the fact that faith is quantifiable evidence that I can put I can see. Why do I believe in the Most High? Because the things that I read in that text over there, I can go outside and I can quantify. I can quantify the sun. I can quantify the moon. I can quantify you.
Yes.
Because you are a creation of the Most High. Tell me across the street something that I can put my hands on that man made right now.
You cannot.
You can't. Other than the fact that, okay, this is what we read about this individual. But my point is that my nail in the coffin, and I want to hear your nail in the coffin if you've got one. My nail in the coffin is that I wouldn't put my faith in a God that changes. Because what makes you think as a Christian right now that God isn't going to change his mind on you right now? He had Hebrew Israel, who was his set-apart people, with a set-apart land, with a set-apart set of mitzvot, and he said, that's my set-apart people. Y'all like to use the word holy. Fine. Don't, but it's set apart. All of those things make Hebrew Israel set apart.
Yes.
And it doesn't change, and it's perpetual.
And even with the other document you just said, holy, the Greek document is very abstract. You can get 10 Christians up and ask them have them write down what holy means, and you're going to get 10 different answers.
Yeah, 100%.
You can ask them what love means. You're going to get 10 different answers. But we know that the Most High said, be Kodesh, because I am Kodesh.
Yeah.
And we know that it's not holy, because that's abstract. What does it mean? What does that mean?
Right.
But set apart is concrete. By you eating a certain way sets you apart.
Set you apart, yeah.
By you showing up every Sabbath sets you apart. By not using the Most High's name in vain, you got to know his name first,
Right.
sets you apart.
When you talked about it earlier, the which you wear sets you apart.
It sets you apart. So if they only understood what the true nature of the words were, what sets you apart?
That's cathartic. Man, wow. Because when you go out, you can say, okay, I can tell who a Hebrew is just by looking at him.
Just by looking at them.
Because if I showed up in the grocery store, I saw you in Aurelius, and I saw that on, I would totally understand what that is and what you stand for.
Say shalom, Akeem. Peace, my brother.
Right. Otherwise, you just blend in with the nations that you've been exiled to.
You are to be set apart, for I am set apart.
Right.
So we not fickle with the Most High. We show up here every Shabbat because we're set apart.
Right.
And then there's the lifestyle that we lead and the things that we do, it sets us apart. But you said something earlier that was kind of triggered me, talking about you said atonement, and I was thinking about, and it just kind of hit me because I was looking at forgiveness. Not once, from Bereshit, which is Genesis, to Malachi or Second Chronicles, does it ever require you to forgive me for a sin or a crime against you?
No.
That's only across the street.
That's right.
You don't have to forgive me, but I am required to make an atonement for any crimes that I commit against you.
That's right. That's right.
So now the Most High said he forgives.
Sure.
So that's the only thing that we should be doing is wanting his mercy, grace, and forgiveness.
Sure.
But he doesn't require us to forgive other people that have. But across the street, they want you to turn the other cheek because they want to keep slapping you. You slap you on the left cheek, and you turn them the right. They slap you on the right cheek, and then they tell you to turn around, Brother Charles, and kick you in the butt cheek.
Hey, listen.
No, I'm not.
That's one of the, see, we're going to be here all night. That's another thing about the Most High's people. This is what I'm saying, is that when you read the text from start to finish, you see the behavior of the Most High, and you see the behavior of the people. When have you ever read in text, you can't even look at the Most High, let alone put your hands on the Most High
Right.
to do anything? If that man is supposed to be the Most High incarnate, what in the world are you?
Right.
Somebody walked in, these two sons of Aharon went in there and offered strange fire to the Most High, and the Most High wouldn't even have it. You coming in here wrong off the bat. So this whole entire issue of not only, matter of fact, the Most High protects his people. When Hebrew Israel is walking in right standing with the Most High, I dare you to come at them. And the nations know that. When the lady of the night, let's just call her that.
Okay.
When those spies came over and they were reconnaissing the land,
okay,
she
yeah.
said, we know.
Rahav.
Yep. We know about you.
We know about y'all.
When y'all show up in this city the second,
They locked the doors, the gates, and everything.
make sure you save my family and me, because I know what y'all are about. And I'm saying, even in this day and age, people don't have a reference for that or his people at all. They see us coming and they're just like, oh, y'all a cult.
I had a conversation recently, and I was trying to talk to a friend of mine, and when I went to see my dad, and I went over to matter of fact, the best man at my wedding. And he's still living in my hometown. He had a Christmas tree, so I kind of showed him a scripture on it where it says, about them cutting it down and nailing it, make sure it don't move, and they decorate it with silver and gold. And then I showed him the Santa Claus when Nimrod had because they found the slab where he had the reindeer in his hand and he had the Christmas tree. And I have a picture of it.
Okay.
So that was the first Santa Claus, and they had that evergreen tree. And so when I told him about it, he got a little offended, and he said, well, the Most High knows my heart. He does.
Okay.
He does know your heart. But that ain't gonna make it, because when we saw when Israel recovered the Ark of the Covenant, I believe from the Philistines, and our King David put it on an ox cart when it was never supposed to be put on an ox cart. It was supposed to be carried by the priest.
That's right. Kahat.
And the young men and the oxen hit a hole, and the ark went to tumble off. The good heart in them
Went to go brace it.
went to brace it up.
Uh-huh.
But if your good heart contradicts the mitzvot, what the Most High told you to live, your heart ain't right.
Okay.
Your intent was good. Your intent you thought was good.
Right.
But if your intent has you violating the mitzvot of the Most High, so you can
Yes,
take take that. My heart was good because it kind of reminds me of my dad. How he used to always tell us when he used to go to work sometimes, he'd say, hey, I want that yard cut before I come home. And we used to be like, well, Pop, what time you get off? So if he got home and I was playing basketball and I'll say, oh, Dad, I'm sorry. I intended on doing it. That wasn't going to stop him from whooping my tail.
Right.
Because obedience, say it again, is better than sacrifice. And obedience is better than a intent of the heart.
Listen, I'm going to go ahead, teach.
Yes. So they, from the Christian standpoint, they think that because they have the intent, because they have a good heart, the Most High know my heart. Yeah, he sure does. And he know it ain't right.
Wow.
So you can have, I forget there was a parable actually across the street saying that there were two sons, and one, the father told one son to go out and do something, and he said that he said no problem, Dad, but he went out but he didn't do it, and one son got mad and didn't want to do it, but he did it anyway. So there was more honor in the son that got mad but did it anyway than the one that said okay and was, had the dad believing that he was going to do it and he didn't do it. See, so he may had a heart to do it,
Wow.
but obedience is what's most important to the Most High.
You put some arrows in the quiver with that one.
Oh, okay.
That one is powerful because that speaks to a lot of people in the sense that, okay, well, yeah, I'm trying to do my best.
No,
No,
you're not.
No, just because you think that your actions are benevolent in the sense that, oh, okay, well, I'm trying. That still don't make it right at the end of the day.
No, it don't. And I don't trust myself to be disobedient to the Most High, knowing that, oh, when I get there, that I'll be able to argue my case when I get into judgment.
Right.
No, I don't even want to go to court.
Right. I mean, it's almost like, I mean, it's that Shabbat issue where you're saying, okay, well, I know that, yeah, that's what it says, that I'm supposed to worship on the Shabbat, but the Most High know my heart. Every day is holy. I mean, you start coming up with these excuses as to circumvent the edicts of the Most High, and that's not the way the Most High had intended it. I don't like I said, where can you do that in reality?
Right.
And say, okay, well, I get pulled over by the cops. My intent was to go the speed limit,
right?
But yeah, you weren't, and you got caught. So I'm just supposed to. I could let you off the hook, and I think that's the way that maybe the Most High looks at it sometimes. Yeah, I'm going to let you get away with it this time, but don't think that just because you got away with it or I let you get away with it, that this is not stacking up somewhere behind the scenes. And one day I'm going to deal with you, but I'm giving you, I think this, what we're getting back, we talked about in this last podcast, this issue of grace, to say, while you're here, okay, people are going to come by. Gerald Beacom's going to come by and water that seed that's already in there. You know what? Sean might come by and water that seed that's in there. But at some particular point, I'm going to have to deal with you sometime. This word is not going to go out and be void.
Yes.
Individuals have been put in our path, and that's why I think it's incumbent upon us to not hold back. And this is a beautiful thing about you, because you don't hold your tongue. I don't think nobody in your family, you or your wife, hold your tongue about the Most High at all. When the opportunity comes up, you right on top of it.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Let's say my wife called me right now and told me that somebody had broken into the house.
Sure.
Knowing the speed limit on these streets are 35 and the speed limit on the freeway is 65, but I'm doing 80 the whole way. 90. I'm justified in trying to get there because I got a good heart trying to get to my wife, but did I break the law?
Yes, you did.
You broke it.
Yes, you did.
You may feel that you are justified in doing something, but if you broke it, you got to atone.
That's right. And nobody else can do it for you.
Nobody can do it for you.
And he ain't changed from day one. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's why I think we love the Most High so much, is because the reality of life and what happens naturally is what we find in text, and those holes that we find are
so
filled.
The last thing I would like to say is that I love the Hebrew lifestyle, the Hebraic lifestyle, because it draws a distinct line. The Most High is giving you a distinct line and lifestyle, and you can either be on this side or that side. But the thing is, and I say this, but with Christianity, see, right now, we ain't got no gray area. That line is dark, it's black, and it is thin. You're going to be on this side or that side. But in Christianity,
right,
you got this much white, you got this much black, and you got this much gray.
Sure.
So I do not want to go to my grave in the gray.
Right. You don't. You don't. You don't want to be in that area where you're saying, okay. And this is the thing, is that as we are in exile, the Most High, even if I draw back to even our diet, from the way that we dress, from the way that we are supposed to express ourselves, and the way that we were to behave, the way that listen, the Most High is so specific. That's the other thing that you'll understand too. It's not these parables and riddles and all this other stuff. You got to figure out. The Most High will tell you, I want to see you here on X day. Even if, I'm going to be a little vulgar, if you decide to do something with your wife, you're going to be unclean until evening, and you have to do certain things in order to become clean, wash yourself, all those types of things. The Most High is very specific in every aspect of life. And we don't have to vacillate between, okay, well, is this
Ain't no
or
guesswork.
this? Right. It's so definitive that we can stand on it and trust it.
Like my dad, I'm going to be home at 5.
There you go.
No problem. That grass will be cut by 5.
5 o'clock.
It's going to be cut before he come in here.
Yes, it will.
And so that's one thing that's very poignant, and I love that. The Most High is definitive about his expectations of his people, and that's why I love the Hebrew lifestyle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Closing remarks.
It's been fun. I had a good time. I hope we didn't bore the people too much. I know that I'm the substitute teacher.
I think we're gonna see more of you up there. The more they see this,
I'm just in here as substituting today. You know how when a substitute teacher come in, you know the substance kind of it's reduced.
Oh no. And I got to piggyback on that just for a second. I think it's poignant for people to understand where we are. We can just kind of have a heart-to-heart discussion about the benevolence and how the Most High has affected our lives. People need to see that the benefit of what being Hebraic is, and bringing us into truth, and how we can walk in a definitive way that you've outlined just so eloquently just a second ago. So I have to piggyback on that. So it's been an awesome time up here on this Hebrews in Exile. This has been Moray Sean Appleton and
Ambassador Gerald Bickham.
And this has been Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.